So, as mentioned, my name is Emmanuelle Mgiba. At the moment, I am currently the senior program manager at an international nonprofit called Girl Effect. Girl Effect was formerly the Nike Foundation, so it was the corporate social responsibility arm of Nike, the shoes, the athletics wear, that's us. And our focus is really on empowering the girl child. And I'll talk a bit more about our work as we go along. But I'm the senior program manager for Girl Effect, but I've always been very interested in the development space. And I've been in the space in different capacities. And I'll go into that as I continue with the talk. Let me just move over to the next slide. So, whenever we have these talks around employment, looking for jobs, building a career, I feel like the same things are said over and over again that don't really take the reality into consideration. So, how I've structured my talk, we're going to start with the bad news first. We're going to talk about the bad stats, we're going to talk about how grim the situation is, and then we're going to end with the good news, right? So, a lot of the times, the advice that we get given, starting from high school days when we're doing subject choice, is if you choose the right degree, you'll be successful. I don't know how many of you receive that advice. I know for sure I've received that advice where they say the market is demanding IT skills, and the market is demanding that you know how to code, and the market is demanding this, and this degree is no longer in demand. And so you end up choosing these subjects or choosing a particular career path based on the market's demand. But guess what? So many are still unemployed, or you're employed for a short period of time and the employment is not permanent. So, is this advice really good that choose the right degree and you'll be successful? I have a hot take, I have an opinion on it, but I'll say no. I don't think that this advice is the best advice, and I don't think it's very comprehensive. So, what are you hearing? Jobs are changing. And so, if jobs are changing, that means that your success cannot be dependent on a degree because the in demand jobs are constantly changing and evolving. The second thing, skills are changing as well. A couple of years back, whether or not you knew how to use AI or prompt AI was irrelevant. But now, as the world evolves, skills are changing. In demand skills are changing as well. Number three, industries are changing. Even if you're not necessarily in a tech forward industry, AI, tech, technology, all of this has made industries change and adjust the way they work. And the fourth thing is that careers are changing. So the way that your career progresses, the opportunities that are available within your career are changing. So is it really just about choosing the right degree? So let's move to the next slide here. So what's the reality? Because remember, I said I'm going to start with bad news first, right? So the reality is that the unemployment rate is unbelievably high in this country. And if we're on this call, we know it, right? So between the ages of 15 to 24, over 60% of young people are unemployed. And this does not mean that they don't have any qualifications, whether it be matric, whether it be a first degree. It just means that in this age group, this is the percentage of people that are unemployed. Nationally, and that takes into account all ages, the unemployment rate sits at nearly 33%. So these numbers are absolutely staggering. They're mortifying, especially if you're a young person really trying to figure yourself out and establish yourself. When I graduated from my honors, I was unemployed for a while as well. So, if qualifications alone really guaranteed employment, these numbers wouldn't exist. That's my argument. If your qualification in IT, if your qualification in coding, if your qualification in something tech forward or something niche was all that it took, the numbers would not be that high. So, what does that mean? Let's move to the next slide. What does that mean? What it means is that the question shouldn't be what degree should I choose? I don't think that should be the main question. The main question should really be how do I build a career in an uncertain world? What does it take to build a career in a world that is constantly changing. Because what do the facts say? The facts say that despite people going into in demand fields, the numbers are still high. Saying that even if you do choose an in demand field today, it might not be in demand tomorrow. So, as opposed to what degree should I choose, the question is, how do I build a career in a world that is constantly changing and will constantly change? And I'm going to use my story as a little bit of an example. So, I did my first degree in politics, governance, and gender studies. So, it's a humanities degree. And what do people love to say about humanities degrees? They love to say that we won't work. I'm a big fan of TikTok. It's one of my guilty pleasures. I was on TikTok a couple of months ago, and somebody was talking about how particular degrees don't find jobs. And she mentioned my degree almost by name, my undergraduate degree, saying that if you have a degree in this and it's specifically a BA, you will not find a job. And I replied in the comments and I said that that's absolutely false because I have this degree and this is the job that I currently have. And these are the steps that I was able to take in order to have this type of a career. So I started my undergrad in politics, governance, and gender in humanities, a BA, so notoriously known as a degree where you won't find employment. I then did my honors in the humanities and then I couldn't find work. So they didn't completely lie, but they weren't 100% accurate. So I couldn't find work. So what did I do? I sat down and asked myself, what skills do I have? What skills have my degree taught me? So I didn't ask myself, what content did my degree teach me? And that's an important distinction. The content is important. I learned a lot about the world around me, systems in which we operate, what we can do to enact change, the history of why the world is the way that it is. So the content was also important. But there's also a question around what skills did I learn? And number one, I learned how to research. And that's a very in demand skill, a skill that's transferable. Research can be used anywhere and everywhere. Second thing, I realized that I learned how to think critically. Number three, I learned how to communicate very well. So, verbal and written communication, because what do? We write lots of essays, we do group work, we do discussions, we do presentations. And I said, okay, this is looking like a combination that can somehow make sense. They say the are somehow communicating. So I realized that, okay, the content has taught me one thing, but the skills have taught me something else. I've learned how to build arguments. I said, okay, I've learned how to structure pieces of work. I've learned how to edit. There's so many skills that I learned within my degree that are not related to the subject matter that I realized are applicable across industries. So, my very first job outside of having two humanities degrees was in management consulting. And management consulting, I'll mention some firms, Deloitte, Bain and Company, I think PwC. So if you aren't familiar with management consulting, it's fast paced, it's very corporate, it is client facing. And what you have to do is work with clients to help solve their problems. So I got my first job as an intern at a management consulting firm. And I was doing strategy work for clients. I was doing organizational structure and redesign work for clients, not necessarily because of the content, but because of the skills. That industry required someone to research. That industry required somebody to write well because you have to write reports. That industry required somebody who could verbally communicate in written format. It required somebody who could think critically, who could read material and understand what the material is saying. So then you realize that, maybe this isn't so much about the degree itself, but more so about identifying those transferable skills and building a strategy. After management consulting, I transitioned into the development sector, which has always been my passion. And now, this has all happened probably within less than a 5-year time frame. I work in senior management in the development space, not because of my degree, But because of choices and because of identifying transferable skills and not limiting myself to what people say my degree can and can't do. So, my main argument is it's not the qualification, it's the strategy. And the great thing about strategy, everyone can have a strategy and everyone can implement it. So, remember, I was talking about those transferable skills, right? That my degree was able to give me. What do employers really look for? Number one, employers hire for capability, not necessarily certificates. And I've been privileged enough to be in interviews where we're hiring new staff members, new team members. And I realized that more often than not, it's not really about, oh, what was this person's undergraduate degree? It's more so, what has their employment experience and history being able to equip them with? What capabilities do they have that will enable them to do this job well? Some of the skills, number one, problem solving. Can you solve a problem? And I'm hoping that even as you are in this process, because I know you are, yes, youth, and you're currently on your work experience sessions, and some of you are with your supervisors, I hope that what's on this slide will actually be helpful. Number one, people love it when you come to them with solutions and not problems. So, arbitrary example, let's say a kettle has burst in the staff room and there's water everywhere. As opposed to going out and telling someone, hey, the kettle has burst and there's water everywhere. Isn't it so much better to go to someone and say, the kettle has burst, there's water everywhere. I sourced a few mops. Can you help me? That's a step forward, and that's what people look for. And guess what? You do not need a degree in accounting. You do not necessarily need a degree within an LLB in order to be a problem solver and to come to people with solutions. People love problem solvers. So analyze the situation and find a solution and suggest it. Second thing employers absolutely love, communication. Many of us on the call are Black, we're South African, born, raised here, um, grew up in traditional South African homes, where the culture around communication is very different. It's very hierarchy driven, it's very respect driven. And as such, many of us haven't built that skill of communicating what we want clearly and freely. But in the world of work, especially now when we have to hustle, given the economy and given the scarcity of jobs, you need to be able to articulate yourself clearly. What do you want? What are you looking for? How can you convey that clearly and confidently to other people? People love when something is clear. I have a colleague of mine at work, and in their email signature at the bottom, it says, clear is kind. If you communicate clearly, you are being kind to the people that you work with. So, communication is so important. People would rather work with someone that communicates clearly, proactively, and on time, as opposed to someone who doesn't communicate at all and just operates in a corner. And again, communication doesn't necessarily come from an IT degree or an engineering degree. It's something that you can pick up across degrees and transfer it to whatever career path you're looking for. Number three, project management. What is the key thing about project management? It means you take something from an idea to reality. Are you able to start something and finish it and fill in what the steps are in between? If you are taking your nieces and nephews out to always more, for example, to play for a little bit, the planning of we need to be up at this time, we're catching this taxi, we're landing at Four Ways Mall at this time, we're playing here, we're going to eat here and then head back home. That's project management. You've started something and you've delivered, everyone is back home safely. That's an important skill. Number four, relationship building. Are you nice? And this is very underrated as well. But are you able to be nice not only with colleagues, but also with other people? Are you able to network? Are you able to go to events, build partnerships, build connections that will ultimately help the organization that you work for? And the last one, the fifth one, is which is my personal favorite. Can you take initiative? Can you act without being asked? Can you identify gaps in your place of work? Can you identify areas of improvement in your place of work and take action? These skills are not things that are necessarily taught in a particular degree stream, but these are the skills that move you from A to B in your career. These are the skills that have people write beautiful letters of recommendation for you. These are the skills that have people remember working with you and then come back and say, oh, goodness, I remember there was someone we worked with. Can we work with this person again? So, this is kind of the foundational piece of how to build a career beyond what your qualification limits you to. So, what is the blueprint? Number one, as I mentioned, transferable skills, understanding that you are not limited to the content of your degree, right? So, there's content versus skills. What skills did your degree teach you? And this is transferable. I, with the skills that I've learned from my degree, was able to work in consulting, and I was surrounded by engineers, people who were in commerce, economists. One of the consulting firms that I worked for is actually known as the biggest economics based consultancy in the continent, and I did not do a shred of economics. So it's those transferable skills. What can I take? What can I do? Number two, experience. And like I mentioned in the previous slide, the experience isn't necessarily I have experience doing this particular job. It's initiative, it's project management, it's communication, it's all of those wonderful things. The third one, and I'm going to actually speak to the third one last. The fourth one, which I absolutely love, is extracurriculars, because this falls in line with experience and transferable skills. A mistake that a lot of us made is that we left extracurricular activities in primary school and in high school, and that's held us back. What are extracurriculars? Things like volunteering. Have you volunteered for a nonprofit, even if it's not a big one, it's just a small one in your community? Have you been able to volunteer your skills and your time to that organization? Have you done a free short course? LinkedIn has free short courses. Have you been able to do that as an extracurricular? What things outside of your day to day have you done and are you doing to make yourself interesting? Why is this one important? Number one, it opens a lot of doors. You meet people you otherwise wouldn't have met, and that opens up opportunities for you to find yourself in different spaces work wise. But the second thing is it makes you more interesting and it gives you another platform to build your skills. For me, I didn't necessarily find work in the development space from my honors degree. But in university and even post that, I had done a lot of volunteer work for nonprofits. So by the time I came into program management, I didn't have to start off as a specialist or as an officer because I had so much experience from my extracurriculars about how programs work in the nonprofit space. So, extracurricular activities, it doesn't have to be formal, it doesn't have to be fancy, but what are you doing outside of the day to day that will help you hone some of these transferable skills, that will help you build these transferable skills, but that will also give you incredible experience that you can then use to create the career that you want. Then the third one, mentorship and sponsorship. Very, very important to building a career outside of your qualification. My last two jobs, I didn't necessarily hear of them myself. Someone asked my career mentor for a referral, right? And that my career mentor then said, speak to this person. They might be the person that you're looking for. So in this economy, in this day and age, you cannot underplay mentorship and sponsorship. But again, how do you find mentors? How do you find sponsors? The easiest place is now with the people that you work with, your supervisors. Don't fight with your supervisor in the nicest way possible. That's somebody that can be used as a mentor moving forward, as a sponsor moving forward in your career. People that you work with. Who else? People that maybe you find on LinkedIn and you maybe want to connect with. There are also a lot of communities. in and around South Africa of professional communities where if you're looking for work, if you're an intern, you can join these communities on LinkedIn, on WhatsApp, and find mentors and sponsors there. But these are people that can vouch for you. These are people that can send opportunities your way. These are people that can give you advice on how to deal with certain things in the workplace. Another way to get from where you are and come out of the confines of your degree and build the career of your dreams. And the fifth one, which I love and I think is probably the most important, you have to have radical honesty. A lot of the times, we are not honest with ourselves. And that's probably the worst kind of dishonesty, right? You have to ask yourself questions. Are you really making the best use of your time after work or during the day to set yourself up for success? Um, I so at home, I used to love watching TV, primary school, high school. As soon as I'd come back from school, I'd drop my bags and I'd be right in front of the TV. And my dad, one day, I think he was fed up. He walked in and he was like, you know, the people that you're watching are getting paid to do what they're doing, and you're not getting paid. And those words never left me, right? There's space for relaxation and recreation, but there's also space for saying, is this the best possible use of my time, given my dreams, given where I want to go, and given the fact that in many ways the odds are stacked against me? So, radical honesty. Be honest with yourself about how you use your time. Be honest with yourself about how you show up at work. Be honest with yourself about the quality of your work. Um, a lot of managers struggle to give honest feedback, right? And I've been there. So you need to find other people, whether it be your mentor or your sponsor or another colleague at work, and find out these deliverables. Is it of good quality? This email that I'm sending, is it of good quality? Do I show up well? You need to be able to be honest with yourself so that these opportunities that we're looking for can open themselves up and so that we can be ready for them. So, this is the blueprint: your transferable skills, identifying them, applying, and finding industries where it's applicable. Your experience, knowing that experience isn't just what did I do on the day to day, it's communication, project management, initiative, all the things that I spoke about. Mentorship and sponsorship, finding people who can identify opportunities and open those doors, doing things outside of the usual that make you interesting, that help you develop new skills. And number five, being really honest with yourself about your capabilities and what you can do better. Let's move on to the next slide. So, this is on the point of radical honesty, right? Who do you know that's around you that can tell you the truth? And I spoke to this, right? So, somebody who needs to be radically honest. I'm just seeing there's a bit of a squiggle on my slide. I'm not sure where that comes from. I think it's gone now. But somebody who can be radically honest with you is not somebody that's your best friend, right? It needs to be somebody who wants you to grow. And sometimes that's someone that you're not a fan of, but you need to have that honesty in order for you to stretch yourself and in order for you to be able to build a career that doesn't confine you, right? I'm not just a researcher, right? My degree would have lended itself to that. I'm not just a politician. I haven't touched politics, but because of the steps that I took, I was able to build a career that's deeply fulfilling. So, what am I leaving you with? Fortune favors the brave. This is one of my favorite sayings because a lot of the times we hold ourselves back. We disqualify ourselves ahead of time. I've been in that position as well. When I finished my honors, I was looking for work. I was looking for work in the typical settings and not finding any because it is saturated. And somebody very important in my life is the one that said, hey, you could actually be a management consultant. And I resisted this person. I said, it's not possible. How is it possible? Look at me. I am not an engineer. I'm not in commerce. I have two BAs. How am I going to transition to consulting? But fortune favors the brave. You cannot disqualify yourself before you've started. Apply anyway. obviously within reason, right? So before applying, you do need to apply some of the steps that I spoke about, but you have to give yourself that opportunity. Apply anyway, ask anyway, and this speaks to that point about communication. Don't always be the person that's quiet in meetings. Don't always be the person that has nothing to contribute, especially now that we are remote or we work online sometimes. Don't always be the one that says nothing from my side with and then go straight back on mute with your camera off. Ask questions anyway, right? Be brave. Start anyway. You might not necessarily be able to start an organization yourself, but walk up to the nonprofit at the corner of your street and say, hey, can I start a little program every Saturday here for these young people? And you'll find that you're learning skills, you're building leadership capabilities that you otherwise wouldn't have had, that you can then use to take your next step. And then try anyway. If you don't try, you won't be able to know, can you do it? Can you not do it? What do I still need to learn? Someone, I was listening to a talk, and this person was talking about how in life, she doesn't believe in failure. She believes in success, right? And then learning. Because even if something doesn't go according to plan, she still won because she learned something that she didn't know before. So your fear shouldn't be, what if I fail? Your fear should be, what if I never learn? Because I'm never trying anything else, because I'm too comfortable. So, what I hope to leave us with is fortune favors the brave. And I understand that in the journey of looking for work, it can get so frustrating because you've been waiting and you've been trying and you've been looking, but you have to keep going. It's that resilience, it's that mental fortitude, it's grit. That's what this requires. So fortune favors the brave. If you don't remember anything else from me, remember this. Almost at the end, I'm landing this by saying that your qualification is a part of your story. It's not your future, right? So just because you've done, you have a qualification in, let's say, tourism, right? That doesn't mean that that's the limit of what you can do. It's a part of your story. You can have a qualification in tourism and in 20 years' time be the minister of something. It is very possible. It's very feasible. It's about sitting and using strategy. What skills do I have? Who do I know? What can I do outside of work? So it's not the limit of your future. And I'm hoping that what this talk was able to do is remove those invisible barriers that we often put around ourselves, where we say, that this is all I can do. I was told to do a IT qualification and I hate it, but this is all I can do because I don't have money for something else. It's not all you can do. There are so many transferable skills that you have. There's so much experience that you've gained and that you can gain outside of formal employment that can help you build a future that is really fulfilling for you and that can really help your family and those around you. So we've landed, we're at the end. Thank you guys for your time. I know that some of you are on break, you'd rather be napping, but thank you for making time just to be here and chat with me. Don't if you do take questions, the Youth at Work team will advise. But if there is room for questions, I'm happy to take one or two. I'm available on LinkedIn. I can't promise to respond in detail to everyone, but as many, if you have a question and would like some help, I'm available there. But something that you should really ask is, don't really ask what jobs can your degree get you. Ask what opportunities that your skills, your experience, and your courage can create for you. And this really sums up everything that I have articulated today, that it really is about perspective, reframing the perspective, right? So it's not just about the degree. Now it's about, hey, what can I do beyond that? How do I see beyond the degree? Right. So thank you so much for your time, guys. Thank you, Youth at Work, for the invite. I really hope that this was helpful and somewhat encouraging. Supervisors, I hope that you guys see a change post this call. Even if something isn't exactly what you want now, it's a step, it's not the end. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I'm going to hand over to the Youth at Work team.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Emmanuelle. Such an insightful session. I'm seeing all the love, the engagement. And to everyone who's online, please go ahead and post on your LinkedIn, tag Emmanuelle, share about whatever you've learned from today's session. Keep the engagement going, even on the social media platforms. We would really, really love to see what you've learned from today's session. Okay, I'm not sure if there's any other questions. Please feel free to ask Emmanuelle any other question. You can unmute, you can raise your hand. She's here to answer any questions that you might have. You can also type your questions on the chats. So anyone who'd like to direct a question can see from the chats. It's the appreciative messages. Thank you so much. What a lovely, insightful session. Very helpful. Thank you. Okay, I see there's a few questions on the chats as well.
I'll answer the one question I saw. First of all, thank you for all the love. You've made my week. But I saw one question which was, how important is it to learn about sales? Um, I think anything that you can learn is important. You shouldn't discard something as unimportant. The great thing about sales and learning about sales is that, again, it's transferable, right? So you can use sales even in partnerships. And I'll use myself as an example. So I work in the development space, and a big part of what we do is we have to work with partners and we have to find funding. So, in as much as I'm not necessarily in a sales job, having those skills of pitching, knowing how to inspire someone to do something, all of that falls within the realm of sales. So it speaks to that thing of transferable skills and experience. It might not necessarily be where you want to go, but there's something there that you can definitely use wherever you find yourself.
And also I'm seeing another question from Darren saying, how do I get sponsorship?
It depends what for. If it's sponsorship about like for sporting, because I know that sometimes organizations sponsor like youth athletes, then I think you can probably reach out via social media. There's usually an info line on email that you can send. If it's sponsorship for a program, so funding, I think that might be a little bit different. But best to maybe look on to clarify exactly what sponsorship you're referring to, then I might be able to help.
They've just said it's for sporting.
Oh, for sporting, yeah. Then your best bet is likely to um, go to social media pages. Something that I would advise you to do is if you have a highlight reel of you maybe on the track or on the field, to send that through. I've seen that to work quite well.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Mhm.
Good
Hi there.
afternoon.
I'm very good afternoon. Hadman from More Than a Teacher here. I'm very sorry to interrupt you. I know we're supposed to be on mute. I did send some messages. I've got two interns here that could not join. Firstly, amazing presentation, and you reached over 1,000 people. Now I see you set it to 1,000 people, so two of my interns could actually not join. How amazing is that that you reached that amount of members? Is there a possibility in future that you can increase that? Can you increase it so more than 1,000 people can also attend?
Yes, Herman, we will look into increasing our Zoom so that we can allow
Ah.
more people. Sorry about
Thank you.
that.
No, it's no wonderful. I can't believe you reached 1,000. I've got like two seasons. Like, are you there? Like, no, they couldn't because there's too many. It's at capacity. So thank you very much. Maybe for next time.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.